Wow, 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 wow. How's it going, everybody? Guess what we just watched? That's right. It's the premiere episode of Game of Thrones Season 8, aka Final Season. Wow, there's a lot to unpack here. But before I get to it, just want to give you a heads up, as always, with most of my TV reviews and episode recaps. I'll be spilling some spoilers. Heads up, spoiler alert. There'll be some spoilers here in this video. You've been warned. Spoiler alert. All right. Okay. Now that we've got that covered, um, I was live tweeting it too as I was watching it, and I was kind of making fun of some of the scenes because it just unintentionally cracks me up. uh, and there's some response from some of the Game of Thrones fans out there who noticed some of my tweets. But let's get right to the context first. Okay, so this episode, wow, they're not kidding around. The writers of this episode are not kidding around. They're like, you know what? We're gonna go all out. We're gonna bring out the all stars. You know, every character that you come to know or familiar with, that you are fond of, and the ones that you hate. Everybody's in this episode. So it's not like an episode where you have only like two arcs or one arc focusing on just like a few characters, and that's it. No, they're just like, okay, here it is. You get even if it's just for a few minutes of scenes or a few minutes here and there, you will get to see Jamie Lannister. You will get to see a bit of Samuel Tar. You will get to see a bit of Arya. You will get to see Cersei, just even for a few minutes. Um, and I get that. I totally get that because there are only 6 episodes in this final season. 6. They don't have a lot of time for any fillers or detour episodes or whatnot. So this is, you can probably title this episode as "It is on." It's on. It's totally on now. Everybody's trying to figure out where their alliances are, kind of like a big Survivor episode. You know, that reality series Survivor, where everybody's like, all right, let's team up let's form alliances here. And it's like, okay, I know we're enemies, but we have a common enemy now, so let's become allies just for this sake, stuff like that. So, and it's known by now by everybody that the walkers have went through the wall, they've broken the wall down, and they've turned one of the dragons into their pet, their ice dragon. And so the threat is really, what's the word I'm looking for here? The threat is nigh. Okay. And so what happens early on in this episode is that we see everybody coming home to Winterfell. Well, not coming home per se, but reunion. Jon, Sansa, Arya, and Bran. And that's nice. It's nice, for those of us who have followed the show since season 1, and we have seen what the Starks have gone through over the years, including the bastard Jon Snow. To see them back again it gives you the feels, man. It gives you the feels. It's like, yes, this is the reunion that we want, and it's happening. And I'm a little ahead of myself. I have here on my note that shot where that little kid's climbing up the tree, trying to get a better view of that massive army. To me, that's kind of reminiscent of Bran in the first season when he climbs up that wall before he gets pushed down by Jaime. Because I was like screaming, like, kid, come down from that tree or you're gonna fall like Bran. And that march too, that army march, man, holy crap, what an entrance, what an opening. Because you see, the familiar faces, you see the who's who of Game of Thrones. It's like Yeah, it's like not just the army that's being introduced, but the who's who of Game of Thrones are being reintroduced to you. You're like, yes, they survive, or like, yes, Tyrion's still alive, and yes, John is riding next to freaking Khaleesi. So glorious, so epic to see that. Um, that that whole meeting, um, where John is being confronted, like, hey, the last time we voted for you, we voted you as the king of the north. Now you bended your knee to this queen whom we don't know much about. So I totally get why they feel like they've been somewhat betrayed. But I think the way John handles that, even before Tyrion kind of steps in and intervenes, um, it's pretty solid. He's basically saying, "Hey, I never wanted this anyway," and he was very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very diplomatic in his approach. I can't say the same about Daenerys Targaryen, especially when she delivers the bad news to Samuel about the fate of his father and brothers. I thought that was a little rough. I was like, come on, as a leader, even if you know in your gut that you're responsible for his family's death, you got to have a little finesse in delivering that news. You got to have a little consideration, sensitivity. Maybe, hey, can we sit down a little bit? Before we break the news, have invite him to sit down, something along that line. Um, Clearly, Khaleesi has been. I don't think it's even her fault. Over the years, she's been toughened up by the conditions of her experience. Um, so being straightforward and just giving you the hard truth, no matter how insensitive it is, that has become her style now. So that's something that probably she can work more on. Now, with regards to Sansa and Daenerys, on that table in that meeting, I thought that there was some sort of air for potential catfight there. It seems that, well, it's understandable if Sansa is approaching this with caution, is approaching Daenerys. It's understandable if Sansa doesn't like just straight up hug her. It's like understandable, right? She doesn't know her. Um, but will that lead to trouble? Will that lead to them not being able to trust or not being able to fight alongside each other? I don't know. That's also another question. Or maybe this is just a family thing, right? Because maybe Sansa is protective of Jon against Daenerys, and that's totally understandable too. Because I have little sisters. If I start dating some shady girl, my little sisters will be like, "Whoa, yeah, let's see about this character right here." They would throw shade at her too. So, um, one highlight of the episode is the riding of the dragons. Um, Daenerys and Jon Snow ride the dragons together. Of course, each of them with respective dragon. And I tweeted that because once Jon Snow says, "I don't know how to ride a dragon," I tweeted like, this is a cue for Hiccup from How to Train Your Dragon to show up and say, "Let me show you." Oh man, I'm telling you, if Toothless and Hiccup cross over to Game of Thrones to help Khaleesi with the fight against Ice Dragon, it'd be epic. It would be epic. That flight sequence is breathtaking. It's so amazing. Oh my god, that shot when Jon is like flying, downward, and you see the cameras from above. It feels like you're on a roller coaster going downward. It's like, whoa, so thrilling, man. And when Daenerys says to Jon, because Jon asks like, "What am I holding on to here?" Because there's no saddle, right? There's no freaking seatbelt. And Daenerys is like, "Whatever you can hold on." It's like, I'm like, whoa, that is to put your faith on a huge ass dragon like that. Wow. What if the dragon decides to just do a flip, flying a flip like that? Um, oh man, it's scary and fun and thrilling all at the same time. Um, Bran Stark, he's on a wheelchair, and man, Bran is all about the business, man. He doesn't waste time. He's like, hey, we got no time for this. Freaking, one of your dragons has been turned by them, and they've broken through the wall. Let's get right down, man. Let's get right down. So Bran, there's no cracking up jokes with Bran, definitely. Um, the first sex scene of the evening involves Bronn, of course, because as you all know, Bronn is that's his thing. He loves surrounding himself with horse. with I'm sorry, I don't have a nicer way to describe them. Prostitutes is a nicer way. So when that happens and it's a foursome, I'm like, of course, of course, of course. How is that a surprise? We are not surprised because Game of Thrones, when it comes to sex scene or any type of graphic nudity or sex, strong sexual content, Game of Thrones doesn't hold back, and Game of Thrones does not promise anything less. Um, it tonight also it the revelation or Sam reveals to John about his true identity. And that's my reaction to that is like, of course, they're not wasting any time. There are only 6 episodes in this final season, so it's like ripping off the band-aid and just tell them straight up that you are the true king, you are the true heir, not her, not Daenerys. um Now the million-dollar question is, how will Daenerys respond or receive such truth? Because in Daenerys' mind, it's all made up that she's gonna be the ruler, that everybody will bend the knee to her, even John. And so the idea of, oh my God, so John is the heir, that means that could mean that could only mean one thing. That means he's a threat to her throne or her reign. So that could be one response, and that would be dangerous if she does think that way. And I would not put it past her to view John as a threat after she finds out about that truth. So that's another impending potential confrontation if she does respond that way. There's a lot of actors, again, as I mentioned, that you are familiar with or fond of. They bring out freaking Greyjoys as well. And so Theon rescues his sister. I was like, finally, holy crap. Finally, he grows some balls, even though he doesn't have them anymore. Speaking of no balls, Tyrion has a great joke about the eunuch. I tweeted that there's a significant amount of balls referenced or balls mentioned in this episode. I'm not sure why, but it is funny. So I give the writers that credit. That's balls jokes never get old. And Euron Greyjoy he wants to bone Cersei, and Cersei like, hey, if you want a queen, you got to earn it. So basically, she's saying, hey, you're not just gonna get into my panties. But guess what? That's exactly what happens tonight. I had my doubts. I thought that Cersei would play tough, played hard to get, or make Euron really, really work for it. Like but you obviously Euron Greyjoy has been complaining in this episode. It's like, oh, I've done everything for you. Why can't I put my penis in your vagina? What more do I need to do to get in your panties? Oh man. so so I don't know if Cersei, what she did to, or what she allows Euron to do to her. I don't know if that's pity sex. Who knows? But it happened. It happened in tonight's episode. The other one, uh, sorry, I crack myself up sometimes. Um, the last one, not the other one, the last one that happens in tonight's episode is freaking Jamie showing up in Winterfell, and he beholds Bran and Bran beholds him. Um, that's epic. There's a lot of internet memes now. I notice hashtag them thrones, and that's people making or people have created that GIF of that one moment when Jamie lays eyes on Bran and Bran lays eyes on Jamie. So it's getting trending now on Twitter because I think my friend says my friend tweeted out, "Bitch, I still remember you." um, so that is interesting. We'll find out how that plays out. And also, I have a million questions about uh, what what Turman, what's his name? Turman, right? Turman Giantsbane, the wildling who has a crush on Brianna the Tharth, Bran of Tarth, the guy with the red beard. I have a million questions about what they encounter in tonight's episode with that whole symbol and they got burned thing. The kid nailed to the door thing. I was like, what? That is so gnarly. That is so gnarly. Um, I think though, to conclude my review, I think that Tyrion putting faith in Cersei or the Lannisters to help with the alliance against the Walkers, I think that is a misplaced trust. I think Sansa is correct on that one. When Sansa said, "I thought you were the clever one," and she's right. I think because Cersei in tonight's episode, when she was broken the news about, oh, the Walkers have gone through the wall, she said, "Good, good," as if she wants it that way, as if she's like because Cersei always has a card up her sleeves, man. A- like she always has an angle, she has an agenda, so she'll say like, yeah, 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 I'll help you, because we have a common threat now, we have a common enemy, I'll help you, fine. But she always has an angle. She Cersei is never just what she allows you to see. You know what I'm saying? It's always something more with her. So I think the fact that Tyrion says, like, you know what? Yeah, my sister wants to survive. Of course, she's gonna help us. It's pretty naive and pretty dumb for somebody who is supposed to be incredibly smart and knowledgeable like Tyrion. So I think, yeah, I think Sansa's right. I think Sansa's right. So we'll see. We'll see whether or not Daenerys finds out about the truth about John and whether or not she responds with hostility or not. We'll find out about that, and we'll see more about that thing that Tormund encounters. Tormund and his buddies in that cave with that kid. Oh man, poor kid, man. He got burned to death too. We'll find out what or how Bran responds to Jamie being there in the Winterfell. Oh, overall, it's been a fantastic. It's a fantastic premiere episode. It sets up a lot of the situations that just give rise to more questions, and makes you want to say, "Hey, I want to see more." Or I want to see that character again. I want to see what happens to that. I want to see what happens to them. And so kudos to the writers for setting all the pieces tonight very nicely. And yeah, what a great start. What a great start. Oh, Jess Spar is here and just says the plot for Braun doesn't make sense. Yeah. you, I give you that. I give you that. I give you that. I mentioned earlier the only thought that I had for Braun was that Braun sex scene, of course. That's not surprise to anybody. Um, but I think though, Jess, and I only watched it once. I got to rewatch tonight's episode again. But I think Braun does play a role in Cersei's hidden plan. Like I said, Cersei always has a card up her sleeve. If she says like, "Yeah, I'm gonna help you out. We have a common threat now." The ice people, the White Walkers. That's not all there is to it. So I think Bronn will have a role in whatever Cersei secretly has planned. Marshall says, amazing first episode. They let it all hang out. Yes, yes, they let it all. And they bust out all the all-star characters, man. Marshall, I mean, like freaking A, everybody's there in tonight's episode. Um, yeah, everybody's there. Everybody's like it's like a big reunion. Even Arya and that guy with the scar, I forgot his name. He's like, he's like, oh, you left me for dead, and then she said like, oh, I robbed you first. So it's like a big reunion tonight's episode, just like hoorah, everybody's here, and so yeah, I think tonight's episode it's designed to get you and me to geek out, you know, because all the memories of all 7 seasons just come rushing in, right? It's like, oh man, they're now back in the scene. The only person who did not show up tonight, well, maybe a couple, right? I think Brienne and Melisandre didn't show up. But anyway, I'm sure we'll see more as we go through the rest of these six episodes. Um, yes. Did you notice Arya nicely threatened John when she hugged him? I don't know if threaten is what I would call, but here's the thing, Marshall. I tweeted that Arya and John comparing swords amuse me. That was one of tonight's most amusing moments. One of tonight's most amusing moments. They're comparing swords, like needle, and then it's like, oh, yours, like that's heavy. That to me just cracks me up. But I don't know if I would describe it as threatened, but I think it's just because Arya's different now. Arya's a different person. She's all toughened up. She's all toughened for battle, and she's a badass assassin. So it's a different approach for her. So yeah, thanks for the chat, Jess and Marshall. I appreciate that very much. And so that's it. That's my long rant. My spoiler review of tonight's Game of Thrones season 8 episode 1. Oh my god, I can't wait for next week. Why can't HBO let us binge watch all 6 already? Damn you, HBO. Stay tuned, you guys. Subscribe. Press that like button, ring that bell, tell everybody about this channel, and support me at patreon.com/ramascreen. Winter is coming. Wait, winter is here. Let's wrap this.